Yo, so we're back. There was a tweet by Shams yesterday about this new lottery system, and I just wanted to talk about some of the benefits or not benefits of it. And so first, like, you just got to try to understand what it is. So they're calling it the 3-2-1 lottery proposal. And so one of the first things it's doing, like you can see, it's changing it from 14 to 16 teams. So like the teams that lose in the play-in are also in it, and not just the teams outside of the play-in. So teams with a bottom three record, so the worst teams in the league, they're calling it the regulate relegation. Holy crap, relegation zone, and they would only have two lottery balls, right? So the bottom three teams they are actually getting punished by only getting two lottery balls, but they do have a floor, and the floor is the 12th pick, um, while everyone else apparently can fall to 16. So they kind of have a floor, but the floor like isn't really good like it is right now, where if you're the worst team in the league, your floor is number 5, right? And so now you could be the worst team in the league, but you could fall to number 12. Um, then this, like what you're reading here, the ninth and 10 playing seeds in each conference receive two lottery balls as well. So the 9 and 10 playing teams, they have the same odds as the bottom three teams in the league. The 7-8 playing games receive only one lottery ball. I'm going to get to this in a second, but let's just keep reading it. And no team would be able to win the top pick in consecutive years. That's definitely important information. And you can't also win three consecutive top five picks. So this would make it to where other teams are making it in, even though the way the odds are going to be, it's going to be weird. Teams also would not be able to protect picks in the 12 to 15 slots. Um, so let's just talk about this for one. I'll talk about what I think is good. So I do think it's actually good to punish teams for being bad. I don't think you should be good, and I don't think you should be able to intentionally be bad to help your team. It's a benefit to be bad in the league right now with the way the system is. And I know people could talk about, well, the NFL, the worst team, they get the first pick automatically. It's so much harder to tank in the NFL. It's pretty much impossible. Well, not impossible. You could tank, but it's so much harder to convince the players to intentionally sit out to lose. And the NFL is also like, you can have a player missing and still win unless it's your QB. Like, NFL is so much harder. Like, one player is way less significant on an NFL team than it is on an NBA team. And also, in a 17 game season, it's a lot harder to convince people to sit out because it all really affects them statistically, and they make a lot of money based on statistics. And it's pretty much impossible to convince NFL players to tank, and it's really hard to tank as an NFL team. So that's why I think their system works, because no one's really tanking. Those teams that are bad are genuinely just bad. And so I still don't like love that you reward teams for being bad. That's how it's always been. So I understand. But my thing with this is, it does make it, when you're bottom three record, you have the exact same odds as if you're the ninth and 10 in the play. One of the things I don't like about this, though, is that the 7-8 games only get one, and the 9 and 10 get two. So you're still incentivizing losing, just in a different spot. Like, let's say you were let's say you were locked into the play-in, right? But you had to out lose the 9 and 10 to not be in the 7-8. Why would they not just tank it, right? Why not just tank it and just get to the 9-10 play-in, so you have two lottery balls? You're still in the play-in. I get it, if you lose, you're out. But, if you're in the play-in, a lot of the times, like, you're not necessarily going to win in the first round anyway. So I don't think this necessarily takes away tanking. I think it takes away tanking in a certain spot, so people can try to get to this 9-10 play-in, right? So they can get two lottery balls. People are just going to try to get to the 9-10 play-in, which I don't like. I also don't like the you can't pick in consecutive years. Um, it's so random with this way that I don't know. Like, there's certain draft classes that the number 2 overall pick is not nearly as valuable as other draft classes. Like, or even the number one pick. That's a better way to honestly say it. There's picks where it's Victor Wembanyama at the first pick, and then there's times where it's Zachary Richeche at the first pick. Or even if you took Alex Sarr, who was probably the better prospect, that's still not Victor Wembanyama. There's, Paolo Banchero, and he's pretty good. But then there's Cade Cunningham, who ended up a lot better. Like, it's just they're not the same value. And Paolo Banchero and Cade are kind of close, so that's probably not a great comparison. Well, not really. Cade's a lot better, but I'm just saying I don't like this because draft classes are so much different in certain years. So I just think you shouldn't be able to do that, to make it to where teams can't pick in consecutive years. Because, okay, for example, like Houston, they picked Amen Thompson, and they picked Reed Shepard, and they picked Jabari Smith Jr. Like, these are all top four where they won in the lottery. And they're not even going to win in the first round this year, most likely. So it's like, I don't know. This not necessarily a huge thing if you're picking in consecutive years. And if it's going to be this lucky, then I just don't really see it. But I kind of get the point to not have bad teams end up here over and over and over, and you actually have to go win at some point. But it's so random that I don't think top teams are going to end up here. So, I think it has its flaws. I think it's not great, but it's not bad. I think it does some good because, okay, in the NBA, right? Where do you want to be? You want to be a championship contender, right? That's the best spot to be in, championship contender. Then next, good would probably just being a good team would be next, then being a mediocre team would be next, and being bad team would be next, and then being a really bad team would be next. The worst spot you want to be is really bad. But right now, the way the lottery's set up, the worst spot you can be is be mediocre. Mediocre is by far the worst spot you can be in the league right now, and I don't think that's good, especially when teams are tanking. And so if you decide not to tank, and now you're mediocre because you just have a better roster and you're actually playing your guys, now you get punished for that. I don't like that. Personally, what I would do, and a lot of people disagree with me because they say it ruins the draft, and I kind of get where you're coming from, but not necessarily. I would have it be what 20, 22, like everyone that's not in the second round. So if you lose in the first round, you're in the lottery, right? And I would have it be a 10 team lottery. I think I seen this idea from someone else, but I like the idea. So I'm saying me, but just know I got this from someone else. I got this from Utility Sports. He proposed this idea, and I thought it was super smart. Um, and then there would be a 10-team lottery, and then everything else after 10 would go off of standings. But what he was talking about was that you're not going to intentionally lose in the first round. Like, you're not. No one's going to do that. You're not sitting your players in the playoffs. They're not going to agree to that, right? If you're in the playoffs, you're going to try to win. So this removes tanking. This rewards teams for being good, and it hurts teams for being bad. And the odds would also just be like pretty much straight up even. Dan, I think that would be the best if the odds were like pretty much even. And then, yeah, being bad means nothing. Being bad's actually horrible because you get the same odds. People wouldn't like it because then you would have teams that lost in the first round of the playoffs and were a 5 seed jumping up to number 3 in the draft, and people wouldn't enjoy that. But me personally, it's like at some point you have to figure out tanking, and you have to be harsh because tanking is making the sport worse. You're not putting out the best product. And the amount of losing that people are intentionally trying to do right now is not good. So I think you have to be harsh. This is somewhat harsh, and I don't hate this proposal necessarily. I don't love it because teams are still going to try to tank into this 9-10 play-in, and yeah, they might try to not be a bottom 3 record, but they're just going to try to be a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, they're going to try to be in there. So you're still, like, people would still be fine tanking and losing games as long as they're not in the bottom 3. They'll just try to win out of that, and then they don't care anymore. So I don't think this solves all the issues whatsoever. But I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's better than what they have now. I'm glad that this is not going in effect this year because as a Jazz fan, I certainly wouldn't want this right now. And for the Jazz in the future, this could actually be really good for them. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the draft is ruined by any means with this. I think, this incentivizes winning, which is always better. That's a better product. And listen, you can be as mad as you want as, oh, the bad teams, this isn't helping the bad teams. What's going to grow the game and make the game better is good product on the court, not necessarily who gets the first overall pick. And if the product's good on the floor and it's getting better on the floor, then that solves the issue. So I don't really know what people's big problem with not incentivizing losing is. People for some reason want to, reward people for losing, and to an extent, I understand as a fan because a lot of times when your team's bad, like this year for the Jazz, like what are you going to look forward to? You're just looking forward to the draft. You're looking forward to watching people like Ace Bailey and Keontae George play, but you don't want to win. You know you're not winning anything, and you want to have the best odds to get a Cam Boozer, AJ Debonsa, Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson. Like you want one of those guys, right? So as a fan, I get it. That's like the only thing you're looking forward to, but that's because your teams sit here and tank and lose on purpose, and they don't give you anything to be excited for because they're losing on purpose. If you eliminate that and they can't lose on purpose anymore, now you have something to be excited for because your team's actually going to try. And yeah, you know what? Sometimes your team's just going to be bad. They will try, and they're going to be bad, and that sucks. But this puts more pressure on management. This puts more pressure on people making decisions. They have to make the right decisions. They can't just intentionally lose and just to get a top pick and have a top pick save them. You know what I'm saying? Like, this actually makes you have to make calculated decisions and be smart. And as a fan perspective, sometimes you're going to have seasons that are like, oh my gosh, we were the worst team in the NBA, and we have pick 12. Like, because it says that the furthest you can fall is 12, right? So it's like, not that would necessarily happen, but let's just say worst case scenario. Yeah, I'm the worst team in the league, and we have pick 12. That would suck. But it also makes you have to draft better. You have to draft good. You have to scout good. You have to be better at and be more intentional with who you draft and try to get winning pieces and build your team and sign better free agents and spend better contracts. Because already with the contract situation, with the luxury tax and not being in the aprons, like teams already have to be smarter with contractually how they do things and contractually how you spend money. You can't really give out bad contracts because it could really hurt you down the line, and you could be an apron team. And I think this makes it to where management has to be insanely smart and make a bunch of good decisions, and you can't really make these poor decisions. And I think that's good. I think that's good to hold management accountable and force them to be the best that they can possibly be and actually care about the franchise and try to incentivize winning, because a lot of the time, as long as you're having sales, they don't even really care if you win. They don't care, and I don't think that's good. I think you need to incentivize winning, and that needs to be a priority, is to win as many games as you can, and management should just try to be making as many good decisions to prioritize winning. So I don't hate it, I don't love it, but I think this is a step in the right direction personally, and yeah, that's gonna do it. We out, boy. Deuces.